Oh, right, let's play some Ready or Not. That's a bit blurry. Okay, that's better. Hello everyone, today I'm going to be talking about the type of options that you likely will want to have to make yourself play a little bit better. These are just my personal preferences for what I like to use. You don't have to use them, but do as you wish. So the first one is going to be ADS zoom. So if you don't know what ADS means, whenever I'm looking at a target, you'll notice that I will zoom in as I'm looking down my sight. Now this can be helpful for taking those longer distance shots. And don't get me wrong, this has a valuable place in a lot of things. I just don't prefer it. When you zoom in, you're losing a lot of visual awareness from the sides. Me personally, I can hit my targets from distances pretty comfortably. And if I can't, I'm probably doing something wrong since this game is usually pretty close quarters combat. So I used ADS zoom disabled. And as you can see, there is no difference in zoom when you look down the sight. For me, I enjoy this just simply because it offers more awareness. And it doesn't really hinder me in any way in terms of like accuracy. I can still hit my target. I might not hit my target perfectly center on exactly where I want to like the millimeter. But generally speaking, I'm always going to be hitting the same target. If I do need to take a little bit longer to shoot, that's okay. At distance, I'll be taking cover most of the time, so I'll have that opportunity. But if I'm just looking down sights, this is going to offer me the most visibility for my targets, especially over long distances. It allows me to not tunnel vision on the target that I'm looking at. So that's the first one. As I said, this is my preference. If you guys want to keep using the ADS zoom, you might find this actually helps you feel like you're not so focused and tunnel visioning on one enemy. Now, the second one I like to look at, this should be the default, but if you are using this already, I talk about this in one of my other videos. So let's say you're using a shotgun and you have the single load method. So first we'll empty the magazine. So here, whenever I press my reload button, funny enough, it actually reloads 2 shells if you are fully empty, which is kind of hilarious. But anyway, if you reload a single shell at a time, it takes a long time to reload, obviously, because you have to go through the entire individual animation and then recovery of the animation, and then you'll finally be able to, reload that second shell. Usually, I think all shells is the default. Someone might switch to this to single shell, thinking that, oh, it's going to be helpful because I can shoot, engage a little bit, reload a single shell, look around, be safe. But in reality, all shells is more or less very easily, it remedies that because you can already do that. So I'm going to empty all my shells again. And now I'm going to just tap R. It's going to reload the initial one, and then the second one, and then the third, and the fourth. And all I have to do is click the trigger. So whenever you want to cancel the reload and reload a single shell, you can just, and as you can see, I'm not fully reloaded here, as you can see. So all you're going to do is you can empty your, let's say there's a couple of shells left, you still have some ammo left, your shotgun. I'll press R, and then I'll spam left click until it stops reloading. If you want to reload a single shell, that's what I do normally. I'll just double click left click a few times, and then I'm reloading a single shell each time. Obviously, if I want to reload more, I just let the animation go. So there's no real need to have this setting, and if you have changed this setting, you may as well just go with all shells because there's no real downside to it. There's only an upside simply because you're being able to reload all the shells sequentially without any extra animation that's not needed, kind of wasted animation. As for all of these, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't want these. Showing chat, showing team status, so you'll be able to see everybody. I believe the default for showing player names is that it's off. You should turn this on. It is crazy how often people shoot me. It's wild. I try to wear things that are easily identifiable. That's why you'll see me using the pink wrist bracelet, so that if they are lucky enough to notice that I'm wearing a bracelet that's super pink and hot pink at that, it's very easy to identify myself. But I feel like a lot of people don't have show player names. Definitely want to turn this on, 100%. Also, I believe this is also not turned on as well. Make sure you have display score. Why? Because if you see a negative or a positive, you know how well you're doing. If you report a body that's been shot and killed, you will notice that it says, so when you look at a body and you look at it and it says report dead, and you see suspect reported +5. This means, obviously, when an enemy dies, when someone with a weapon dies, you get 5 points. But if you kill them, or if you incapacitate them, you actually get more points. So if you are maybe trying to get a certain rank that's not S rank, I thought you're trying to get an A+ or something with weapons, like guns like this, using deadlier weapons will net you less points. So that's something to consider whenever you're selecting all these scores. So it's like, oh, I'm going to report him, but I noticed that he's reported dead, so he's only going to get 5 points. And then what's really nice to know, if you're playing with a group of people and someone kills somebody, you can see the negative points and the positive points, so you know kind of who's kind of killing who, right? Obviously, shoot them in the face, they're going to die no matter what. But if you're shooting in the chest and you notice they keep dying so much, someone's probably using a shotgun. Someone's probably using a 7.62 round with armor piercing, because usually those have a very high chance of immediately killing the target through armor. So as I said, it's probably best to have everything that I have here. Is probably a good reason, is a good thing to have on. Probably the only thing you wouldn't want on necessarily, depending on your preference, is frames per second, but I like it. I like knowing how well my game's running. I just try to make it at 90 frames per second. That's more than enough for me. I like having all this information. It's just information that's nice to have. Now, when it comes to this other setting, I recommend 100%. I believe the default is something like 90 or 95. Just bump it up straight to 100. You're going to have more visual visibility. It's going to feel better. You're not going to feel so zoomed in, and it's going to be much more helpful. It's honestly probably going to make the game a lot easier too, since you don't need to look as much. Your aim doesn't feel so like focused on one target. It's not so tunnel vision. So this is an important setting to have. Let's put it at 100. This is more than enough. Past this, you start to get that warping on the edge of your screen. And for some people, it is helpful. You can see more of the screen, obviously, and more people. But for me, it feels a little bit too weird. It feels like I'm playing like Doom or something, or you know what I mean? So this is just my preference, but definitely boosting this up is going to be helpful. So for the next one, the camera FPS limit. This can be really helpful because when I had a bad computer and I was running this game, I noticed that whenever I would turn on the head cameras, which if you don't know what that is, you can see the cameras. You can look through the cameras of your SWAT team and see what they're up to. So I can actually see myself here through that guy's camera, as you can see. It's very helpful for when you, hilariously enough, this is the most helpful when, if you're playing with a group of people and if someone's killing people secretly or doing something really sketchy, you can just watch them. You can see what's going on and who's misbehaving and who you need to kick, which is kind of hilarious. Also, it's really helpful for just knowing where your teammates are. So for example, if you know the map pretty well, like I do, you'll notice that if I'm playing with somebody and I see that they're in an area that I'm in, I'm gonna be like, hey, I'm in that area, be careful, I'm through that door. Obviously, it's not going to be the best for everybody because not everybody knows the maps as well as I do. But regardless, it's still going to be very helpful for identifying your friendlies and your teammates and where they might be. Maybe you're nearby them and you recognize it still, even if you are new to the map, and you're just giving them a little warning like, hey, I think I'm around that area. Be careful, don't shoot me. And obviously, this can be very clear and helpful when you have that other setting I told you to turn on, the name setting. When you aim at somebody, the name will disappear, which I find hilarious. So there still is that chance of shooting somebody. But just be aware when you aim at them, the name will actually disappear, which is actually hilarious. But until then, you can kind of see their names. When you're pointing at them, it'll disappear. So anyway, with the camera, you are definitely going to want to boost up the FPS. I believe the first time when I did it, I believe the default FPS was 30. It kind of looks pretty jank, but putting it at least at 60, depending on how good your computer is, because you are having an extra screen on your screen. So if you have a worse computer, those settings can make a difference in performance. So kind of use what you think is the best. If you have a good computer, boost that FPS up so you can see more clearly where people are. It's just better. You can kind of understand what's going on, and you can see more things clearly. I put mine at 60. I don't necessarily have a need to see so clearly the FPS. So at 60 is about that's the best thing. 30 I just found too choppy, so I changed it to 60, which you'll probably find is going to be really helpful. There is one more thing that I recommend you do. Now there is left lean and right lean, and then there's toggle left lean and toggle right lean. Now, if you guys are wondering what this is, when you press E or Q, your character will slightly lean to the left or right. So for example, if I want to cant my sight and look a little bit over to the side without exposing yourself too dramatically, I recommend you turn on toggle. Now, why is this? What's funny is, so just like with left shift, if I'm holding left shift, which is the walk command, I aim down sights and I'm moving normal speed, I'll have a lot of, let's say like inaccuracy, right? My weapon swaying a lot. If I hold shift, it's more steady and more streamlined. It's not going to be causing as much movement with the reticle. Now, the same thing happens when you press Q. So for example, if you're going down a hallway, let's say I'm going down this hallway, let's say it's just a straight hallway, I can press E, aim like this at the side, and have a steady aim. And obviously if you're coming around a corner, this can be beneficial too, right? Steady aim. So I recommend changing this, honestly just adding it to toggle lean, and with the same buttons will be just fine. If you don't prefer this, don't do this, but this honestly has been really helpful for me. I can just toggle the lean, and then when I'm done leaning, I just, toggle it back. It's fine, right? Let's say like I can, and obviously you can change between them. It's just you don't need another thing to hold. It's just a little silly. So like, let's say you're like crouching and you're holding it, and then you're crouching while moving, while holding this. So you're holding, Control and E while you're moving, while you're holding right click. It's just not needed, right? Why complicate your life? And finally, the last setting that I like to use is free lean. Now, a lot of people don't really seem to use this very often. I do see some people using it, but a lot of the time they're not really using it. Now, what free lean is and toggle lean, whenever you press and hold Alt, because I don't have it on toggle, I'll have to hold it, and I lean, it will obviously lean around a corner, right? LSPD. Why is this better than Q or E lean? Well, it's because, first of all, you lean further. So what does this mean overall? So let's say I'm perfectly behind this wall in cover, and then I toggle my free lean by holding Alt. I can lean out of the corner, shoot, and also change my elevation, so I can crouch and do this. And even extended further, if you hold S, you can actually lean even lower. Or you can, there's like a range of motion, right? If you're crouching or standing up. So this is the crouch range of motion. And let's say you're not, you can aim up and down and lean up and down. For me, the reason why I have it on free lean and not toggle lean is because if I'm holding Alt and I'm around the corner, and I aim around the corner like this, holding it, all I have to do is let go of Alt, and I will return. And obviously I have the movement to look around, or to move around freely, right? I'm not locked in because it doesn't have toggle. So, and a lot of the time you don't have to WASD per se, a lot of the time, so you're not really moving. And if you do need to move out of the way, you let go, you'll snap to your original position, and then you can take more cover if they're, let's say you're pushing you or something, right? This is what I prefer, and this is what I recommend you using instead of using E and Q. I literally just use Q and E to stable my weapon when I'm looking down hallways, and I just need like a slight angle, or I need to study my weapon. Another thing too, if you're using Alt, so for example, I can just storm around the corner here, right? But you want to be a little bit more safe, and you're trying to check this corner. You can just keep holding Alt, let go, keep holding Alt, let go, keep holding Alt, let go. So if you're trying to check around a corner with multiple angles like this, you'll notice that you can kind of do it pretty well versus just slowly creeping around the corner, which a lot of the time, sure, you can do this, right? But when you're trying to quickly return, it's not as fast as that snapping back, right? Like, let's say I like peek over and I see something, I'm like, oh, he's there, boom, snap.
Waiting on you.
It's much more functional, it's easier, and it's quicker. You just gotta let go of a button versus trying to like run away, hide, right? Because if you're in the movement of it, you're gonna have to slowly move back out of it, right? It's just, overall, it's more simple to just lean. There's a guy there, I'm getting shot at, or obviously if I'm not getting shot, I can take him out, but snapping back is gonna be really helpful. So the last and final is canted sights. So for me, I find a lot of value in this, especially if you use something with like a laser sight. This can be really helpful. So you can just simply look at the laser and you can see where you're aiming. It has decent accuracy, and you're just going to be aiming where the laser lands, right? Very simple, very accurate, and you can see visually more of you can see visually more of what you're shooting at. So for example, let's say I am shooting at this target here. Let's say I'm aiming at their head. Well, what's not visible? Where their weapon would be. So let's say, for example, there's a target and he has a weapon, or I don't know if he has a weapon, but I'm aiming at his head anyway because I'm ready to take a kill shot. Because of course you are, right? Because you're a badass. So if you use your canted sight with a laser sight, obviously you're going to be more accurate. You kind of get a gist of where you're aiming at. You can see what's going on with his hands and still be aiming relatively accurately at the target. In this case, their face. So this allows him to see and react quicker and still have really great accuracy in those close encounters. And even at distance, it's still very accurate. And the same principle, it extends just like any other sight. I can see where I'm aiming and what he's doing. If I'm not, even at this distance, I still can't tell. What you're going to end up doing is looking in the center mass of them, and then when they have pulled up their weapon, you're going to be aiming up and shooting. But obviously, canted sight, you can see, and you still have a good amount of accuracy, especially depending on the weapon that you're using. And it even works with the light. Now, you wouldn't think this would be very helpful or very accurate, but you can still be very accurate with the light. It's not going to be amazingly perfect all the time, but generally speaking, even with hostages, a lot of the time, I can still hit the target, right? I'm just aiming at the center of where it's going to be. You can see actually where the bullet holes are happening, and you can see it's basically where the head would be, right? So obviously if you need to pull off that extremely accurate shot, for example, then obviously you're going to be aiming down sights like this. And with bigger sights, you won't be able to have this problem. Obviously, the closer they are, it's going to be more problematic. So doing this is just going to be more reliable when it comes to seeing, and seeing is super important in a game like this where you're identifying weapons or targets. And having more sight is never really a bad thing. And you'll find that key in the canted sight, toggle canted sight. So I have mine on my thumb button. And I think the further, if you have a thumb button further down, the farther reaching thumb button away from you, not the closer one, the one I have for that is my light and my laser sight. So when I am going canted sight, I simply cant my sight, turn on the laser. So it's all very functional. And then of course, when I'm entering a room, for example. Let's say I don't want them to see my sight to know that I'm there. I can just switch back to this, and obviously just as quickly switch back to using the laser sight. Well, I was actually fiddling with these settings just right now, and I actually noticed I'm not sure if it's a bug or they're just mislabeled or whatever is wrong with it. I noticed when I was changing the door command, for some reason, whenever I do check door, and I look at the door, it says cover. And then whenever I change the door command to cover, it'll say mirror under door. And then whenever I do mirror under door, it'll say mirror for traps. And then of course that's the last setting, is mirror for traps. So it looks like they're all kind of attached incorrectly. So technically you can't use the door command check door, which could be extremely helpful, especially for when you get on those higher difficulties and you just want to tell them to look at the door, check the door to see if it's locked and or has a trap. So that's pretty funny that I find. That's pretty funny to know that I just discovered an actual issue while trying to talk about these, because I've never really changed these, as I said. So it's kind of hilarious that I just noticed this. So, hey, there's another bug here. So that is every setting that I like to use or change that I consider that is going to be really helpful for making you play better. They can be really helpful for me. I've changed a lot of them. A lot of them I don't use everything, but like I don't use something like toggle free look. I don't really find it to be necessary. This is more or less all completely functional. Obviously, these are just my preferences. If you don't like them, you don't have to change them, but consider trying them. Maybe they'll help you out. Maybe they won't. But if you want to share something I may have missed, something that you might use, comment down below. I'd really like to know and see what you guys use and what you guys think of. I'm always interested in hearing how you guys might play or how you guys might prefer something. It's very interesting to me. So if you're enjoying my videos, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate when you guys like and comment. Thanks again for watching and have a good day.